What's going on, guys? Today we are going to be showing you how to change the cowl on your 9th Gen Civic Si, and while we're at it, we're going to be changing out some spark plugs. So this is actually a request from somebody on my Instagram page. I'll have all my social media linked down below, so let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is there's these little plastic clips that are on the cowl in front of the windshield wipers. What you're going to do is you're going to pull those little plastic tabs up. There's one on each side. Once you pull those up, you're going to gain a little more access to the bolt that holds the windshield wiper down. So what you're going to do is you're going to, with a 17mm, or in most cases it's a 17mm, but just grab a socket that fits. You're going to remove the plastic or the rubber shield that's covering the nut holding the windshield wiper blade on, and you're going to take that nut off. Once you remove the nuts from the windshield wiper, all you have to do is kind of pull the windshield wiper up and pry it back a little bit to loosen it from the splined windshield wiper. It's the two-piece, the blade goes onto the spline that's attached to the car. You just pull that back and it pops right up. And once you have the wiper blades removed, you can then remove the remaining corner pieces of the plastic cowl. Now you see I just some of them come up easier, especially if you've taken it apart before like mine, but you're gonna just pull the plastic portion of the cowl off. You're just kind of gonna, with some force, pull it up. You may hear some popping or some cracking. The popping is normally the clips that are actually built onto the plastic piece popping out. The cracking you may hear is the little plastic clips underneath. They're these detachable blue clips that sometimes break because they're really thin plastic. You could pick up a pack of those from the hardware store, the auto parts store, if you end up breaking any, so don't worry about that too much. But again, just give it a good amount of force and pull it up. So once you get the plastic center portion of the cowl off, there's going to be 3 10mm bolts. You're going to want to get yourself an extension for this. You basically take those 3 10mm bolts off. There's one on the side, there's one on each side, and one in the center. And then once those 3 bolts are out, you're going to have 6 12mm bolts. Now those 12mm bolts are on the side of each part of the heat shield. You should be able to use just a 12mm wrench and break those off, and take those out. So once you get those taken out, you're ready to remove the heat shield. Now that we have the cowl and heat shield removed, we're going to move on to the spark plugs. So with the 10mm wrench or socket, you're going to remove the 4 bolts holding down the black plastic trim over your valve cover. And then once you get those taken off, again it's just 4 10mm bolts, you can then remove the plastic shield and expose the coil packs. So with another 10mm, you're going to take the 4 screws out of the coil packs holding them into the valve cover. Now that the 10mm bolts are out of the coil packs, you're going to remove the plastic clips. Basically you can just push down with your finger and pop the connector to the coil packs loose. Once those are all popped out, you can then remove each coil pack one by one. Now, I use a spark plug socket. The reason I use this is because it's A, got an extension built in, and B, it's magnetized, so it'll just pull them up when it's completely loose and you pull the socket out. So again, you just take it. You're going to break them loose just like you would any other bolt. Turn to the left to go loose, turn to the right to tighten. You just take those out one by one. Once all 4 of those are out, you're ready to install your new ones. So with the new spark plugs, same concept, just drop them into the the spark plug socket, and you're gonna just tighten them. I went a good, like, I didn't go too tight. I went hand tight. Well, not hand tight. I tightened it to the point where, you know, it started to give me a little bit of resistance. I didn't want to go too hard with the spark plugs, just because I didn't want to strip anything or, you know, bore out any of the threads on the inside the actual engine. So once you install those, you just reverse the process of putting your coil packs back in. You tighten up all the 10 millimeters on the cover, the valve cover, and then you just start putting your firewall and cowl back together. And this is reverse following the steps. You put the 3 10 millimeter bolts back in, you put the 3 or 6 12 millimeter bolts back in, and then you basically just pop all the plastic portions. Start with the center, then you do your side corner pieces, then you put the wiper blades back on, tighten the nuts down, put your plastic trimming pieces back in, and then you're all set. That pretty much wraps up the install video for today, guys. I hope it was helpful, and I hope you get some information out of it. Feel free to leave some questions or comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. I got some more future content coming out. I'm literally in the process of supercharging my Civic with the same Craftworks kit that I did in my buddy Vor's car. So I'm going to do this more of a guide and explain the process, as opposed to just doing like a cinematic edit. There'll obviously be some B-roll in there, but keep your eyes on the channel for that. And if not, guys, I will catch you next time. Peace.